Good morning. Time has come. It's time to get serious here with the SL. I have coolant leaks, specifically one coming from the water pump, and a second one, as I stated earlier, coming right back here where the heater hose meets up to the engine. I've already drained the coolant. I'm removing spark plugs. I'm removing, not me removing, but removing wiring, getting it out of the way. I've got everything labeled so I know what goes where. It's not that bad. It's not that bad of a harness. This is early CIS injection, and basically you've got a connection at your warm-up regulator, a connection at your idle air control valve. You've got a temperature sensor connection here and right there. A ground, which is mounted right there. As you notice, as I'm taking things off, I'm putting the bolts back in the holes. I removed the spark plug wires, took them out of the way. Also, we have a connection to the cold start valve. This, I'm guessing, is I'm trying to think of what the name is for it, but it's for keeping the mixture correct to please the oxygen sensor. Okay, I think it's some type of compensation device. We have a connector right down here, an electrical connector. I'm not sure if you can see it down in there. There's one on each side, and I'm gonna have to turn my lights on here. Right back down in here is an electrical connector, and I'm looking for it right there. It's a single pole. Okay, that is the lockout sensor temperature switch for the heater, because you know Mercedes didn't want your heat to come on when the engine was cold, because that would be just terrible if you had cold air blowing on you. And then there is also a double pole connector right down here where my finger's pointing. That is the temperature sensor for the fuel injection to let you know if the engine is cold or warm. But basically, those are the wires that have come off. I will be taking off this hose here, which attaches to the valve cover, and also its vacuum hose. I will be taking off the valve cover because I do want to change my cam shaft oiler tubes. I am also going to be removing, while I'm here doing all this, these air hoses which go to each injector. There's one on this side and one on the other side. Got brand new ones there. I want to change out as many hoses and things that I can. And these things are already pretty hard. I mean, you touch them and they are crunchy. I'm also going to be checking out all of these hoses here. I have replaced these hoses already when I cleaned my idle air control valve. I am taking plenty of pictures because I want to remember exactly where all of my vacuum lines go. This is kind of a mashup of electrical lines here, and oh, and there was one connector right here. I missed that one also. And anyway, like I said, it is going to be time for these things to come off. I've read places where it says that you have to remove the distributor to change the water pump out, and I'm guessing you really do. And I am getting ready to go down here after I take off my shroud and my fan. 4 of these little bolts, take that assembly out, and I'm going to turn the engine over by hand to try and get it to top dead center and have the rotor end up pointing here, which is the number 1 cylinder. When the rotor points to there, then that should be down there at top dead center. And then I will take the distributor out. That way I know exactly where it is when I put it back in. But we have quite the project here. I've already taken out my windshield washer bottle, my coolant recovery tank, which sits right there. Radiator I'm going to keep in. I don't think it needs to come out. Once I get this fan shroud and the fan out of the way, I should have plenty of room to be able to take the water pump out. I will be putting in a new water pump and a new thermostat, new upper and lower radiator hoses. I will be putting in a new overflow hose, which goes here and goes here, here, and to the reservoir. It's a three-way line that goes there. And then I'm also going to be putting in the hose that goes to the bottom of the radiator on this side, which comes up to the coolant reservoir tank. And up there goes a label, which has come off of one of my wires. And that is for the windshield washer pump. And that is right there. There. We'll stick that back on there. That's the windshield washer pump electric wire. But anyway, a lot of work. I'm not going to be filming continually. If I see something that's weird or I want to take note of, I'll get back on and show that. But this is pretty basic mechanical work. Here is the driver's side rubber, what I like to call the log air line, and that attaches to the top of the fuel injectors over on this side. And just so that everyone remembers what is what here on this engine. Progress is being made. As you can see, we have the fan off, the shroud, hoses, thermostat housing with the pipe that goes into the intake manifold there. Distributor is out. I did loosen the warm-up regulator so I could get this hose out. It is slowly coming along. I have been spraying bolt after bolt after bolt, hoping not to break one of these water pump bolts. I'm going to keep spraying them and taking my time, and we're just going to keep going. There's not much left up under here. Boy, they really made it very challenging to do a water pump on this thing. But patience, take your time, step by step, and you'll get it, I hope. Morning everyone, I'm back in my shop. I have the 82 380 SL here, and boy have I opened up a can of worms. What can I say? What can I say? Have you ever anyone read the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie? Well, it's like if you give a mouse a cookie, well, you might as well get a glass of milk and dip the cookie in there, and it goes on and on and on and on. Well, when I brought the little SL home and started driving it, put about 100 miles on it, noticed some little things, you know, a little smell of coolant, little drip of coolant on the garage floor. Couldn't identify where it came from. Then I produced the video with an update on 100 miles, and yes, I did find where it was coming from. It was actually coming from the area of the middle area around the transmission. What's up under there? And well, that's the heater box. So do I have heater hose leaking, a heater core leaking? And the only way I could look at it really is to get it in the shop here and put it up on ramps, which I have done. And oh, what did I find? What did I find? Let's take a look. Okay, what is going on here? What is going on here. What have I got going on here? Well, this is what I found. The little leak that was coming right from underneath here, it was actually this heater hose and where it attaches to the engine. That was leaking right there, so I'm going to have to replace that heater hose. It's quite an involved operation because of where the heater hose attaches to the heater core, which is behind the blower motor and down under this air inlet panel, which you have to get a vacuum pulled on the little vacuum pods there to open that up so that you can see where the attachment for that is. That's not going to be too bad. But then as I was crawling around and looking here, I also found some coolant leaking from the middle of the motor directly down in there. And as you can see, I've got a water pump that I am getting ready to remove. This is an aftermarket water pump. It had been replaced a number of years ago. I don't know how many. There were no records on this $600 car when I bought it. But I could tell it was a replacement because of the gasket material that they used, which is right there. You can kind of look at it. And yeah, notice there's a distributor missing, because in order to do this, you have to take the distributor out. That wasn't too bad. All I had to do was to rotate the engine by hand to top dead center and then start removing belts and hoses and all of the things that basically are on the front of this motor here have to come out of the way if you want to do this the right way and make it easier for yourself. But then you're looking up here and going, where is your valve cover? Well, my valve cover seals were leaking. They were pretty dry rotted. As you can see, I've got all my cables and electrical cables off to the side, and they are all marked and labeled as to where they go. I took off the valve cover and totally shocked at about how good it looks in there. I mean, awesome. And while I was there, I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and replace this intake hose that goes on top of the injectors, because that was pretty old and hard as a rock. And then while I was at it, I decided I was going to replace the camshaft oiler tube clips and clean all this up and put that back in. And then I decided, well, let's see, how close am I to top dead center with my camshaft timing? And as you can see, I'm off a little bit maybe. Let's take a look. Where is that mark? Okay, there it is. Okay. Right there and right there. That's not bad. And then I noticed, well, this chain has been replaced at one time, and yes, whoops, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to turn on some lights here. Lights are on. You can see where someone had replaced timing chain and the guides at one time, because they've marked right here on the camshaft a little line there of how it went back on. The chain looks great. I feel the guides do not. They've already changed to a brown color. You can see down in there. And also I see wear on the guides themselves. But the chain looks great and it's nice and tight. Doesn't make any noises. So I've also decided, well, I'm gonna take off the alternator and I'm probably going to take off this camshaft sprocket, and then I'm going to replace the upper guides on this side. Then I'm going to come around to the other side and of course take off that valve cover and replace the air hose, which is identical to this one right here. And then I'm going to replace the camshaft oiler tubes, and I'm going to go ahead and change the guides on this side too. To get to that, I mean, it's not really hard. I've just got to take off my power steering pump, and I'm going to move it to the side. I will take off the alternator and probably move it out. There's really nothing to that. I mean, I've gone this far. I just might as well. I mean, I don't want to get in here, you know, in another year or so and start to do something else, and I just want to get it all done all at once. But I am really surprised at how good things look. I don't see any corrosion in there. I don't see any crud or any sludge. I'm just really impressed. So, as you can see, things are torn apart. Tools are everywhere. The coolant that drained out of it was green. It's the wrong coolant. But it was clean. It had been done probably by the person who owned this just before I bought it. I am putting all parts into bins. I do have plastic bags listed with the bolts and the nuts, and they're all marked. I have stuff spread out everywhere because I'm just, as you can see, I've got things I need to clean up here and identify and put into plastic bags also. And it's going to be an adventure. But the car runs really well, and the belts are just dry rotted. They are so old. They had to be changed anyway. So it's, you know, you start one thing and you decide, well, I really love it. I need to continue, and I want to make sure that it's going to run well. And when it cools off this fall, I plan to really drive it a bunch. A little update on the 380 SL. I'm slowly taking things apart. As you can see, most of the front of the motor has been taken off. Air conditioning compressor is still down there. Air pump is still down there. But I did remove the alternator and the brackets. Valve covers, because I am going to be changing out my guides right there, and I'm going to do that on both sides. I just haven't got around to this side yet. I've got my power steering pump moved over here. The distributor is out, water pump is out. Now I've got to start cleaning all of this in here, make it nice and clean so we can put the new water pump back on. I really had to soak down the bolts for the water pump. There are 8 of them. They are all different sizes. I highly recommend, well, the first thing I recommend is when you're working on this and you don't want to remove your radiator, get yourself a nice piece of cardboard. Put some tape over it. You don't have to worry about making a dent in your radiator, okay? Second thing is, when you take your distributor out, put some tape over that so nothing can fall down there. Then, got your valve cover off on this side. It is now covered with a towel so nothing can fall into there, okay? You just don't want anything to fall down into any of these crevices. Let's come over here to where I have parts laying everywhere, and the water pump has 8 bolts. I drew this on cardboard. That's the top, bottom. Got your 8 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I drew this using the gasket for the water pump so you know exactly where these bolts are going to go, because they are all different length. I mean, look at these. You got some short ones, you got some long ones. You're not going to remember what goes where. This is my handy hint of the day. Keep it just like this. I have parts that I have taken off. As I'm taking things off, I clean them. I put them in baggies, I label what they are and where they're going to go. I put this right back down here. I did take my fan and clutch assembly outside today and cleaned it, got all the dirt out of it. Also my shroud, which is right there. I have all new hoses. I am just going to town here. There are my old belts. I have all new belts for it too. My new water pump right down there. That is the harmonic balancer and hub assembly, which I did remove. I did not remove the main crankshaft bolt because the torque needed to put that down. I don't have a flywheel lock. But I did remove the harmonic balancer and the hub assembly because, trust me, you can get every single one of these bolts out except for the bottom one. The bottom one, you have to have that hub off. You have to have the harmonic balancer off, because even though there are cutouts in that balancer, they don't match up with where the bolt is. And I had a hard time and finally said, well, forget it, I'm taking that off. And then it was a piece of cake. I also have been spraying things down because it's dry. The bolts came out. They were rusty. I'm gonna have to clean all of this up here. I'm gonna clean all this up too. In order to take off your short hose where your thermostat housing fits on, you do need to loosen your warm-up regulator and just lift it up a little bit. You do need to take out your idle air control valve. It just makes things so much easier when it's out of the way. When I take off this valve cover, I'm going to have to remove this hose. I'm going to disconnect both of my fuel lines right here. And I'm also going to disconnect my power brake vacuum booster right there. That way I can get this valve cover off, get in there. And I did take the valve cover outside today, and I did not do a full restoration on it, but I'm talking I cleaned the dirt and grease and oil off of it, and it's just laying right down there ready to go back on. Here is the old water pump sitting right there. I have boxes with parts everywhere because my garage is just, my shop is just loaded. You can look around. I mean, I'm using my 911 SC as a storage place for parts. My new valve cover gaskets right there. There's the SL. There's the 82 C10. There's the 96 Silverado extended cab. There is the kit car. Oops, I'm hung up on this old lawnmower, which I need to throw away. Of course, I've got books open up everywhere. When I got this shop, I thought I had plenty of space, and there's my Cayenne S. But I don't. I filled it up very quickly. I'm still adding to it and throwing things away. I do want to show you something which I got at a garage sale. This was in the house of an elderly couple who had passed away. This is a kitchen cabinet made by Youngstown Kitchens by Mullins, Warren, Ohio. Made in the USA. This cabinet is nice, okay? It is tall, 4 sets of doors. This is where eventually all of my car detailing waxes and everything are going to go. I do have to put a little strap on it to hold it to the wall. She wiggles a little bit. But this thing is ancient. It was a great garage sale. I am so glad that I got that. And also, my other latest acquisition is this U.S. General toolbox. Harbor Freight was having a closeout on these. And this is really nice. I mean, it was like $409 plus, I think that did include tax too. This thing is heavy duty, and I am just so happy that I've got places for all my tools now. And here's my other U.S. General. See nothing wrong with these cabinets. They are very, very nice. They're inexpensive and they're built very well. This cabinet, Ultra HD Seville Classic, I got that from Walmart. This cabinet is one of my favorites. Open it up, it was a file cabinet, and it is filled with all of my detail work, my rags. This toolbox we found in the pickup truck bed of a junked vehicle in the junkyard. And I paid $5 for it. And for $5, I can't beat it. But anyway, this is just a little update of what's going on and what I have just opened up a can of worms here. But that's what you get when you buy a $600 Mercedes. It ran well, it just leaked coolant. And you know, while I'm at it, I might as well take care of all the things at once so I don't have to do them later. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.